Hello everyone. Well, it is 24 hours later after I had coated these in epoxy, and I was using the pour-on in Virotex Light, and so far turned out okay on this. And it's a little sticky, but not too sticky. I mean, it cured faster than the other item that I used, the paint cover, and that one is still in the process of drying. I don't know why these ones ended up drying so well whenever there's a lot more globs, but it did. But I also wanted to talk about safety. A lot of people have been concerned about, I'm not using gloves and stuff. Well, little do y'all know, I do actually pause the movie or video whenever I do get the residue on myself. I'll pause it real quick, go wash my hands, because unfortunately, in a mom life, or dad life, however you want to put it, you can't find everything that you want. Like, everything gets replaced, or misplaced, I'm sorry. But I do have my gloves. It's just took me forever to find it because it was misplaced where I usually have it. But I did also want to talk about the things that I did coat with polyurethane as compared to the resin. So in both aspects of the polyurethane and the resin, it's going to take time. And if you try to rush it, you're going to yellow your items on either or at that. It's not just polyurethane. It is also with anything resin. If you try to overheat it and quicken the process faster, it's going to yellow it. Now, these are salt and pepper shakers I made for my dad. And the first coating I did was with polyurethane. But I did let it set first. And then whenever I got the epoxy, I was like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and, do another coating of it. But because I was trying to quicken the process, it yellowed it a lot. Like, you may not be able to see some of the yellowing, but it did yellow it. Like, all that white is now like a weird, ugly beige color or something. But they turned out okay. These are gourd stitch, by the way, and I did this design myself. I mean, it's one of those things that you just kind of play around with. I did this one first, and then I copied the effect to this one, as much as possible anyway. Now, all these items, well, technically, all these items, I did do the polyurethane effect on them. But again, it yellowed my white. But otherwise, it would have been good. But I did also attempt the epoxy resin. This is my boyfriend's lighter that I mentioned in one of the videos. That I kind of stuck it too much. But luckily, I had made a slit at the bottom to where if he had to, he can always relight it. It's just going to be ugly at the bottom. So, bottom can be ignored. I don't care. But like I said, I did already do the polyurethane effect. This was when the bottom half that I was talking about was not completely coated with the polyurethane and didn't give that whole look still. And it was a tight effect anyway. Still trying to figure out better ways of doing this. In my opinion, I probably should do a little like felt or leather on the outside first and then do it, and then put the polyurethane or even epoxy on it. I do put these videos as not child friendly because of the fact that it is involving chemicals, because with the epoxy it does have chemical reactions, and we don't want children thinking, oh hey, I'm going to run to mommy's stuff and try this out, saw a cool video about it. No. If you're okay with it, that's fine. But that is why I also put it as not friendly for kids, because of all the chemicals in it. Alright, so this one had the epoxy first and then, or I'm sorry, polyurethane first, and then I went ahead and tried out the epoxy to see what would happen. And this one too. This one I had made a while back, and I was using what was called invisible thread, and I was doing square stitch because the loom was not liking me whatsoever and I wasn't dealing with it. But I made this for a friend of mine, and I did do like a felt type thing in the middle first, and then I beat it around the whole thing. Or I made the flat piece first, and then I put it over the coating, this type of stuff, and then I sewed it together back and forth. It was a pain, I can tell you that now. And even this one has its times where it's really hard to get it out, in and out. But that one was pure polyurethane right there. That's all I used on that one. But you see, because it has so many different colors, there are no whites, it doesn't show that effect. Now you'll see some of the pieces kind of popping out. That's because of the string that I used. I didn't use Nymo, I didn't use quilting thread or anything. So, you know, yes, it's going to pop out like that. Like, that's the only downfall that I can say about the invisible thread whenever it comes down to making lighter cases and it pops out like that. That was the first time using the invisible thread at that. Now here are a couple more items that I have made with the coating of polyurethane. Now see, the white didn't really yellow as much, but at the time I had also done about 6 layers of this stuff, but I did thinly, and I think personally that it probably soaked into some of the leather after I wrapped it around. But yeah, it was one of those beautiful things. And even if it did yellow, like I said, you know, if there was no white on it, you couldn't see it. You couldn't see any of that yellowing. And here's another one that I finally popped out of place, or out of where it was hiding anyway. And it did a little bit of yellowing. I can see where I messed up in some spots. This was peyote stitch, and so was this. Now, I've mentioned before, peyote doesn't really like me whenever it comes to bigger objects. Anything that's basically not a pin cover size, peyote doesn't like me. But it really didn't yellow it that much on this one. And like I said, on both of these, I had done very thin layers, but I'd done them about 3 or 4 times. Maybe up to 6. I don't know. But I only put them in front of a fan. No heat, no nothing. Just, you know, stick it on a clip, stick it on a dowel, and then let the fan hit it and let it cool on its own time. And, you know, it can take anywhere between 3 hours to a whole night before it finally dries. Like, I've had it to where it took me about 2 days before it would actually completely dry, and then I can put another coating on it. Another thing that I did with just polyurethane was this one. Now this one, I see absolutely no yellowing in my whites. And I actually made this knife thing myself, not the blade though. Got the blade from Walmart, and I had to break off the handles so that I could make my own handle out of a dowel. I mean, it's not too pretty, but you know, it works for me, works for home. And this part right here, I did that on purpose because I thought it was going to make a cool banner effect. And then I realized that, you know, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But it's all good. It's for home anyway. I like the effect of it. Sure, it's not straight, but again, this was peyote. And again, I don't do good on peyote. But like I said, this is polyurethane, and it did real good. So thin layers. Some of these I did forget that, you know, it does keep the white. And here's my lighter again that I'm showing you, where I did try to heat it up to process it faster, and it just yellowed it. Like, even in this coloring though, it kind of yellowed it, but that's because it was more of a crystal, and it's surrounded by white. So, I mean, I guess different things, different effects. And here was the one that I told you about that I did do the resin on and it got stuck. So now it's a keychain. No longer a pin cover. Keychain. But, you know, like I've said before, do your research, please. There are some videos about how resin is not your friend, but in any case, when you're dealing with any chemicals of any sorts, resins are not going to be your friend, or not just resins, but anything with chemicals will not be your friend. So, you know, always do your research before testing anything out. I know that I missed a few steps besides from the glove use or whatever, because again, I couldn't find them, and I paused my videos in between, and luckily y'all couldn't tell, because I've seen some people say that, you know, oh no, I've seen that you weren't using gloves. No, I was cleaning my hands. As soon as I'd seen that, I'd pause it real quick and go right back to where I was at. And if it's a tiny drop of it, I've noticed that the what's it called, Germex or hand sanitizer, it helps really well. Like, just put it on real quick, wipe it off, and if it's still on, then I may get like a dab of oh, what's it called? No, I went blank. But anyway, so the stuff that's supposed to help get the polyurethane off of anything, or paint remover, basically, you can get nail polish remover. Acetone. Acetone is the word that I'm looking for. Sorry. I was drawing a blank. But yes, so if this doesn't work, just do a little bit of acetone on the area that you did get it on if it's not working with any soap or the gloves. So, sorry, getting interrupted by my kids. I just paused the video again. Anyway, but yeah, so like I said, if you get a little bit on yourself and it's still not coming off with the soap or, you know, Germex or whatever, then do a little bit, very little bit of acetone, and it will help get it off. Or even put on a cotton ball and kind of wipe it off like you would with fingernail polish or any of the other paints that you would have on your skin. Now, it will agitate your skin a little bit. That's why after using the acetone, then you should rewash with soap or, well, yeah, with soap and cold water or warm water, whichever one you prefer. I usually prefer like a lukewarm, not too cold, not too hot, because you don't want the heat to make a chemical reaction if it does anything. But, yep, that is all my items for coating on beaded items. And like I said, this one turned out okay. It bewilders me that the pin cover, it's a straight shot like this, and it honestly has less of the resin on it, and it's still goopy. And that was because I was using this one. I'm sure it would be fine if you were to just pour it onto something like this. Like, let's say this is your lighter case with the metal piece. I think that if you were to just pour over it and kind of turn as you're going, it would probably work better. But, you know, as I said before, I really prefer, if I'm using anything epoxy, this stuff, the easy cast. I know you can't see the cast part because of sticker, but that's what you get from Hobby Lobby. They like to cover every word that is important to you. But if I was to use anything, it'd be easy cast or polyurethane. I prefer polyurethane, and as I've also said before, make sure you get a sealant, kind of like polyacrylic. It acts like a Mod Podge, and it helps with keeping everything together. Do about 2 to 4 of those layers before you put any of the major coating on. And that's what I was hoping for with the effect of the pin cover. But I didn't do that on this pin cover, so that was my bad. But that is the end of my video. This may be the end of my epoxy journey. Just something to show y'all what I found out, what I've learned. If y'all find out anything else, then I'll look for you. And y'all have a wonderful day. Keep looking for any more videos of mine, because I think I might just start showing you how I do my beadwork. Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful day.